So good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, guys. The last presenters talked about the classification scheme, right? Um, it entailed the two kingdom system down to seven kingdom system, which described the specific microorganisms. Now, in this afternoon, we're going to discuss the distinct characteristics of microorganisms, which are archaeans, bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and lastly, algae. Later on, you will see a table showing their characteristics, um, their um, their variations will focus on shape, size, color, classification, is it photosynthetic or not, their habitat, and lastly, their form of reproduction. Now, before we start, we're going to introduce ourselves first. I'm Kevin Aceron.
I'm Donna Abarico.
My name is Leanderson B. Atiwag.
I'm Christine Arcilia.
My name is Maria Crisha Kayla Arbogasina.
And I am Asunta A. Suge.
Bacteria. Bacteria are microscopic single-celled organisms that exist in their millions in every environment, both inside and outside other organisms. Some bacteria are harmful, but most serve a useful purpose. So not all bacteria are bad. Most bacteria are good for us. Example of good bacteria is Lactobacillus acidophilus, can help break down food, absorb nutrients, and fight off bad organisms that might cause diseases. Bacteria perform many important ecosystem services in the soil, including improve soil structure, soil aggregation, recycling of soil nutrients, and water recycling. All bacteria are prokaryotes, means no nucleus or other membrane-bound organelles. All are single-cell organisms, have a plasma membrane. Genome is DNA. Difference between prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell are exploited by antimicrobial drugs. The unit of measurement used in bacteriology is the micron or micrometer, varying size from 0.1 to 10 micrometer. Bacteria can be identified and classified by their shape. So when scientists started first classifying bacteria, they started by looking at their basic shape. Bacteria generally have three major shapes, such as in spirally are spiral shape, cocci are spear shape, bacilli are rod shape.
So now let's move on to fungi. Fungi are eukaryotic organisms. Their cells contain membrane-bound organelles and clearly defined nuclei. Historically speaking, fungi were included in the plant kingdom. Ngunit sa kadahilanan na laking chlorophyll, yung unique na structure ng fungi at physiological feature when it comes to cell and cell membrane, sineparate ang fungi sa plant kingdom at sa ibang nabubuhay ng organismo. So next slide, please. So now, here are some type of fungi. Molds, the microscopic filamentous fungi, and yeast. When it comes to shape, molds are often spherical and ovoid shape. It is typically found in woods, windows, especially in our foods. The second one is the macroscopic filamentous fungi, or tubular and elongated thread-like. Dito na papasok yung mga mushroom, morels, and puffball. And lastly, yeast can be both spherical and oval, found in worldwide shoot and plant surfaces.
Now let's talk about protozoa. We all know that protozoa are unicellular eukaryotic microorganisms lacking a cell wall and belonging to the kingdom Protista. Although there are nearly 20,000 species of protozoa, relatively few cause disease. Most inhabit soil and water. The protozoa reproduce by the following means: fission, zygogony, and lastly budding. When we say fission, let me give you an example. These are my hands. Let's say it is a cell, and it splits into two. That's what we call fission. Whereas zygogony is a form of asexual reproduction characteristic of certain protozoa, including sporozoa, in which daughter cells are produced by multiple fission of the nucleus of the parasite, followed by segmentation of the cytoplasm to form separate masses around each smaller nucleus. Well, in general terms, segmentation is a condition or act of partitioning or dividing repeated parts into segments. Um, on the other hand, buds form around the nucleus and pinch up the parent cell using a pinching motion. Now, what's the role of protozoa and cytoplasmic membrane components in initiating body defense? In order to protect against infection, one of the things the body must initially do is to detect the presence of microorganisms, right? The body does this by recognizing molecules unique to microorganisms that are not associated with human cells. These unique molecules are called pathogen-associated molecular patterns or PAMPs. All microbes, not just pathogen-associated molecular patterns, um, possesses PAMPs. Now, the components of protozoa that function as PAMPs includes GPI anchored proteins, which is glycosylphosphatidylinositol, and manuse-rich glycan, which means it's a short carbohydrate chains with sugar manol as the terminal source of PAMPs. Um, PAMPs are common in microbial glycolipids and glycoproteins, but those are rare of humans. PAMPs bind to defense cells of the body that triggers defenses such as inflammation, fever, etc. Now let's proceed on the next topic, which is archaeans.
So, archaeans are a group of microorganisms that are similar to but evolutionary distinct from bacteria. So, archaeans are prokaryotes and unicellular organisms. They are diverse domain bacteria, and its representatives can be found in any habitat. Some archaeans are mesophiles and many are extremophiles. Archaeal groups inhabiting different extreme habitats. Since archaeans inhabit extreme habitats, they are called extremophiles. Within extremophiles, there are different psychological categories types of archaea's life. One of these is the halophiles. Halophiles are archaeans that live in an extreme salt condition. And one of its examples is the halobacterium. Next is the thermophiles. Thermophiles are archaeans that lives in a extremely high temperature, such as cold temperature or um, heat temperature. One of this example is the Methanopyrus candleri, and it lives in hot springs and vents. Then the third is the alkalophiles. They live in an extreme alkaline conditions. Example of this is the Thermococcus alkalipilus. It is a marine archaea. Next is the acidophiles. Acidophiles are the archaeans that live in an extremely acidic conditions, like dry, hot soil and volcanic sites. They are example of this is the
Picopilus turridus. So Archaeans cell walls are composed of shodomorine or shododoglycan instead of peptidoglycan. Next slide. They perform methanogenesis, which methane is the final product of the respiration. This cell wall is composed of shodomorine instead of peptidoglycan. The only difference is the sugar composition, and they swim through flagella, and they also archaeans are often found in extreme and terrestrial habitat. Their gene transcription and is unique, and they contain plasmid, which is the small circular DNA molecule, and it consists of antibiotic resistance. They multiple through asexual reproductions called divider fusion, budding, fragmentation, and other mechanisms. Archaea are single-celled, with other are filaments and aggregates. And their diameter is between 1.1 to 15 micrometers, and filaments can reach 200 micrometers in. Next po.
So now let's talk about the algae. Algae are a large and diverse group of eukaryotic photosynthetic organisms. It means they perform photosynthesis, and this is their source of energy. It is a non-flowering and typically aquatic plant that includes seaweeds and many single-celled forms. Algae contain chlorophyll but lack crystals, roots, leaves, and vascular tissue. That's why, although they are plant-like organisms, they aren't considered as plants because they lack the basic structure of plants such as stems, roots, and leaves. They exist in environments like oceans, rivers, lakes, and ponds. These organisms are commonly found in areas with adequate moisture such as ponds, lakes, rivers, and oceans. Algae are usually green, but they can be found in various colors such as red and brown. Most of them require a moist or watery environment, hence they are present near or inside water bodies. These are the two types of algae. First is the red algae, or also known as rhodophyta. These distinct species are found in marine as well as freshwater ecosystems. This is one of the oldest groups of eukaryotic algae. Their pigments contains phycocyanin and phycoerythrin that are responsible for its red coloration. Next is green algae. It is also known as chlorophyta. Its major pigments are chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. These can be found in both freshwater and saltwater. They can also grow on moist areas of lands.
So for the final part of our report, this is the summarization of the distinct characteristics of microorganism. So let's start for the bacteria. Bacteria size range from 0.1 to 10 micrometer. Most bacteria appear in the color of white or creamy yellow, but some bacteria are capable of producing pigments that has a varieties of color, which examples are the Chromobacterium and the Agrobacterium. Bacteria classified as a prokaryotic, meaning they lack for nucleus and other organelles. So there are three types of bacteria according to its shape. It's either as spherical or cocci, rod shape or bacilli, and spiral or spiralia. So some bacteria are photosynthetic. Example of photosynthetic bacteria are cyanobacteria, green and purple bacteria. They uses membrane fold to capture sunlight energy and convert it to ATP. So bacteria can be found in every habitat on Earth. It can be found at soil, rock surfaces, and even in Arctic snow. So definitely every every bacteria can survive in every surfaces of the earth. So bacteria's form of reproduction is through asexual reproduction or binary fission. We all know that binary fission is the process of an organism duplicates or generates genetic material or the DNA and to produce a new organism copying that one DNA, or it is the separation of a body to two new bodies. So the next one is the protozoa. Protozoa size range from 1 micrometer in diameter. So its color is clear or transparent. So sometimes we can see protozoa in many color. It is because of the materials inside them or because of the food that they ingest. Protozoa classified as a eukaryotic, meaning they possess organelles and nucleus. So protozoa shape are oval, spherical, and elongated. Protozoa is also a photosynthetic type of organism. Some phytoflagellate protozoa are plant-like. So protozoa can live in freshwater, marine environments, and soil. Its form of reproduction is just like the bacteria, through binary fission. So the next one is the fungi. Fungi sizes from 5 to 10 micrometer in width. Its color range from red to green and black. So fungi is also classified as eukaryotic type of organism. So its shape is tabular, elongated, and thread-like or the filamentous. So fungi is not a photosynthetic, hence it is a chemoheterotropic, meaning they uses chemical as a source of energy. So fungi can be found in soil, dead matter, foods, and or the human feet. So they reproduce through asexual reproduction or through fragmentation, budding, or dispersal of spores. So the next one is the archaeans. Archaean size ranges from 0.1 to 15 micrometer, and filaments can reach up to 200 micrometer in length. So its color are cream and yellow. So archaean classified as prokaryotic type of organism. Each shape is spherical, rod-shaped, spiral, lobe, plant shape, and irregular shape. So most archaea are chemotrophs, but some are photosynthetic. Archaeas that are photosynthetic uses the bacteriorhodopsin to capture the energy coming from the sunlight and convert it to the ATP. So archaeans can be found at extreme environment. They can sustain in ocean, hot spring, marshlands, and even in human guts. So archaeans, as a extremophile, they can live longer than other organisms in Earth. So archaean reproduce through asexual reproduction or through fragmentation, budding, or dispersal of spores. So for the last one is the algae. Algae ranges from 0.2 to 2 micrometer in unicellular and up to 300 centimeter in unicellular algae. Its color is green, red, and brown. So algae classified as a eukaryotic type of organism. Its shape is spherical or the spindle shape. So, algae is algae is photosynthetic, just like the plants. The only difference of algae and plants is algae lack for tissue differentiation. So algae can be found in moist areas like freshwater, river, lakes, and ponds. So the form of reproduction of algae are both asexual or sexual reproduction. They can reproduce by fragmentation or dispersal of spores, or sexually by producing gametes that fuse during the fertilization.
That will be all. Thank you for listening.